The first sacred text is from Matthew, chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. Don't judge, or you yourself will be judged. Your judgment on others will be the judgment you receive. The measure you use will be used to measure you. Why do you look at the splinter in your neighbor's eye and never see the board in your own eye? How can you say to your neighbor, "Let me remove the splinter in your eye," when the whole time there is a 2x4 in your own? Remove the board from your own eye first, and then you'll be able to see clearly to remove the splinter from your neighbor's. And the second sacred text is a video. Are people doing the best they can with Brene Brown and Russell Brand?
What boundaries need to be in place for me to be in my integrity and generous towards you? And one of the times I tested it out was with a group of deacons in this isolated, you'd love this place, like West Texas town, replete with tumbleweeds. Or a group of clergy who have to travel, and they marry everyone and they bury everyone, and they go from small town to small town. And I asked this series of questions, so it's really interesting. So the first one is, do you believe that people are doing the best they can? Do you believe in general that when people wake up every day, they're doing the best they can? What do you think?
Yes, I do.
You do? So it's very split, and it's a very difficult question, because about right over half of the people say, fuck no. People suck. People are not doing the best they can. I was one of those people too. I was a hell no, people are not doing the best they can. Then the next question is, if you don't believe it, I want you to picture someone in your life who you believe is not doing the best they can, who really irritates you and just makes you crazy. And everybody would get a picture. And I said, what if God came down? It was easy with a group of,
Well, don't believe
priests.
in God.
Yeah.
He wouldn't come down.
Right.
Well, you're in the clergy. Oh.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I said, what if God came down to you and said, this person that you wrote down on your napkin, he or she is doing the very best they can right now. And then what happened was literally physically about half the people in the room kind of fell over and slumped over in their chairs and just started sobbing. And so one couple, both deacons in the Episcopal Church, I said, tell me about the reaction you're having right now. And they said, they were married, both deacons, and they said, we wrote down the same person. And this person lives in a trailer in the desert. They've had their children removed several times. Every time we remove children for abuse or neglect, they have another child. Every time we bring money, they don't use it for formula. They split the formula with water, and they gamble the money. And their kids get removed for failure to thrive because the formula's been split with water. And we kind of hate them. And I said, and God told you he was doing the best he could. It was really about the father and the family. What was your response to that? Continue to help with a loving, non-judgmental heart, or we need to stop helping. But helping through hatred is not helping. And we are outside of our integrity and outside of our faith. And another woman said, I didn't pick someone that I serve as a clergy, I picked my sister. And my sister was a dancer growing up, and now she's a stripper. And I have 2 young nephews who are subjected to who she brings home at night and her job. And if God told me that she was doing the very best she could, and this is the answer that comes out all the time, I would have to stop being angry and start grieving the loss of a sister that I needed in my life. And I would try to love her, but I'd have to have some boundaries about what's okay in front of my kids. And so this whole idea of it's very hard to be compassionate toward people when they're hurting us. And people hold on to believing, for me, it was really interesting because I was like, hell no, people are not doing the best they can. And if that's your best, you suck. And it's not best enough for me. And this was in the middle of it, talking about a God moment. So I'm in the back of the car, I'll never forget, with another couple. Steve and the husband were in the front, and I was riding in the back with my girlfriend, and we were going to see John Mayer at the Woodlands. And I was like, hey, I'm doing this interesting research right now. Do you think people are doing the best they can? She goes, hell no, people are so fucking lazy. And I was like, oh, this is why we're good friends. I'm like, they are, aren't they? She goes, yeah. And we both had young kids at the time. She said, let me give you an example. She's like, what about the people that have kids and they stop breastfeeding before a year or a year and a half? Like, what about those people? She's like, oh, I can't breastfeed anymore. I've got an infection, or I'm going back to work and I don't like pumping. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Like, I quit breastfeeding after 5 months because I had to go back to work and pumping was just not working and I just didn't do it. So I'm like, yeah, those people are awful. And she goes, yeah, why did you have kids if you weren't willing to do that? That was her take. And I was like, and all I wanted to say was, you don't know me. You don't. And then here's what I wanted to say. I was fucking doing the best I could.
Wow.
And then toward the end of that research, there were a lot of great stories about people we interviewed during that. I asked Steve, my husband, do you think people are doing the best they can? And he said, I don't know, I have to think about it for a little bit. And I said, I want your help. And he's like, okay, let me think about it. And he came back 10, 15 minutes later, and he said, I've thought about it. And he said, I have no idea. But what I do know is my life is better when I assume they are.
Amen. Just kidding. So last week, you began a new sermon series in the community, Wonders and Wanders. It's all about spiritual questions. And today, the spiritual question is, do you believe that people are doing the best they can? Brene Brown is a researcher at the University of Houston, and this question springs up in a study about compassion. So do you believe people are doing the best you can in your friendships, in your family, in your political party, in your neighborhood? Do you believe that people are doing the best they can? Turn to a neighbor, yes or no, quick answer. Yeah. Do you believe people are doing the best they can? A yes or no answer is difficult for this question, at least for most of us. This is one of the questions that clergy sometimes, when we get together with all clergy, chat about, right? At least in my clergy circle we do. Maybe we're strange. Does yours? Yeah, yours too. Okay, so, and it's come back with urgency in the current political climate. Do you believe people are doing the best they can? It's hard. Reverend Penny Nixon preaches about this from time to time. Her thinking has challenged mine. My thinking has challenged hers. We've gone back and forth often on opposite sides some months. Often Bonhoeffer comes up. Do you know who Bonhoeffer is? An anti-Nazi theologian. He was accused and imprisoned and convicted of a plot to assassinate Hitler. Eventually he was executed. In prison he wrote, he got very philosophical, and he proposed there was a vast difference between, my interpretive words here, those who are truly ignorant and those who are willfully ignorant. I'm pretty sure he would have answered this question, are people doing the best they can, with a solid no. But was he doing the best he could? Anyway, this question had evolved after Brene Brown had been traveling and talking about the assumption of positive intent in workplaces. She was telling executives that it contributed to a healthy work environment, and that the first assumption before taking any action against someone should be the assumption of positive intent and curiosity about how they could be better trained or better equipped to behave differently. On her website is this podcast, that was just part of it, Living Big, where she describes being forced as a presenter to share a room with someone at a conference. She did not like it, but she surrendered. She went into the room with this person. It turned out to be a very horrific experience. A person whose standards were completely different than hers, wiping hands on the couch, dirty hands because it wasn't her couch, and putting her feet up on stuff, and stinking up the bathroom and not turning on the fan. It was horrible. So she was so traumatized and so enraged that at the airport, she called her therapist and arranged an immediate appointment because she needed to examine what had triggered her so. She was really enraged. So our therapist asked her this question: do you believe that that person was doing the best that they could? And her answer was no. However, she did start to research the question because that's what she does. She's a researcher and asking all kinds of people, and you heard one session about that today. What Brene discovered in her extensive research was that for many, if not all who said yes, they qualified their answers. Yes, but, yes, and. But there was an unwillingness to give up on humanity and a belief that people were doing the best they could with the tools and knowledge that they had. Those who answered no, there was seldom any doubt. It was almost always unequivocal. No, no, no. And I'll skip all the expletives, and I apologize that they were in the video, but I like the video. Anyway, when asked about their no, 80% described the ways in which they fell short of their own expectations. They weren't able to do the best they could. They didn't live up to the person they thought they were. They were very self-critical. I mean, if they couldn't be the best they could be, how could anyone else possibly be? It's interesting, the scripture today, judge not lest we be judged. There's a belief on the part of many scholars that looking at the actual words and the current context, we might have it turned around. There might be a slight misunderstanding as we hear the translation in English today in the room. That it actually says, in essence, the yardstick you use to measure yourself will be the one you use on others. The judgment you place on others is often a reflection of your own stuff. So sometimes looking at our own yardstick is really important before examining something in someone else's life. The yes people, the doing the best they can people, turned out to be those who believed they themselves, in spite of missteps or errors, were doing the best that they could. They gave themselves full credit for trying hard. They gave others credit too. They learned to be more compassionate to others, primarily because they could be more compassionate with themselves. At a protest in Ferguson, Missouri, 2022, Cornel West was arrested, along with several other clergy. He was roughed up. It wasn't gentle. He was overheard saying to the officers, "Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother." He's a yes guy. He believed they were doing the best they could, even under duress. And that's not easy. It's a very advanced spiritual practice, a skill Jesus accomplished, but most of us never do. But there was more. Brene discovered that even the most compassionate people also had well-defined boundaries. Meaning that even if they believed that someone was doing the best they could, if the behavior caused them harm, or it caused them difficulty with their own peace and their own ability to live, if there was interference, the solution was not believing that anyone was less good or trying any less. The solution was creating distance from those who could not do better. So clear boundaries are the secret to good relationships and practicing effective love for ourselves and each other. I was thinking about the controversy between women who keep their maiden names at marriage or couples who choose a completely different last name. It used to be very controversial, right? But I actually found a webcast from 2022 where someone was running around with a mic asking people what they thought about women who kept their maiden names. Now, most people today recognize that it didn't really matter what they thought. They said, well, it doesn't matter what I think. It's up her. It's her personal decision. It's kind of personal, you know? But meanwhile, there were still some who thought it was improper. If a woman is being called by her wrong name over and over after she's made clear that it is the name that she's choosing to use, how long should she put up with the disrespect and the loss of her autonomy, the loss of respect for her decision? A year or two? The family may believe that they're doing the right thing. They might think that they're doing their best, but the inability to honor the daughter's choice, her self-identity, to actually see her the way she sees herself, is a kind of violation. And maybe she'll be able to stick it out like Jesus. I don't know, maybe. But often people lose touch with their children because of this kind of disrespect, not because of a lack of love, but because a family refuses to see them. I'll say a word about love here. We need to remember that there's a difference between God's love and human love. There's a reason for that. God's love is perfect. God cannot be harmed. Might feel sad, we imagine that, but God cannot be harmed by what we do or say. It's going to rise again. Everything's going to be all right. Human beings can be harmed. We can be hurt. God is God. We are not God. We can only practice imperfect love because we can hurt each other. We can harm each other. Sometimes unintentionally, sometimes in innocence, sometimes in a failure to recognize or a willful kind of ignorance. We could do better, but we choose not to. So humanity creates boundaries to reduce this harm. We do it as individuals. We also do it as a society, right? You get a driver's license when you learn the boundaries of driving. In relationships, you take initial vows. In organizations, we have boundaries in the form of founding documents and bylaws. Communion is a kind of vow. When we honor boundaries, it creates function. When we ignore them, it creates traffic accidents. And soon we begin this argument inside ourselves if our spouse or our co-travelers are doing the best they can. As relationships age between couples or in institutions or in churches, these boundaries expand and get clarified through lived experiences and challenges. That's how we grow. It's fairly rare for relationships between two people not to have these experiences of coming together and falling apart some and coming together again. That's how couples grow. But falling apart always provides an opportunity to come together, or the opportunity to make a different choice. And I'm not saying that we always meet in the center in any of these situations, but it is a place to re-examine our boundaries and our values, and it does require a willingness to gently accept accountability that can create a recommitment to each other and cause a relationship to lengthen. Are you with me? So in religious organizations, it's accountability to our mission, our vision, our right relations, our vows, our promises, and yes, bylaws. Bylaws are the laws that we write for ourselves that are enforceable in a way many things are not. They provide the scaffolding and the boundaries for a strong church. When the scaffolding isn't updated, when the boundaries aren't re-examined, when we fail to do our annual church assessment or start to consider some things irrelevant, when we get bad boundaries, sometimes things start to fall apart. People create back channels that undermine systems and boundaries meant to keep us together. And I think I told you last time that in large churches, even churches this size sometimes, most often the choir becomes a de facto board. You don't have a choir, it's a gift. No, I love choirs, but often the choir becomes a de facto board for the church, and they wield their power, and they have control. So anyway, we'll talk more about this in the workshop. So are people around you doing the best you can? Think about that this week. And if your answer is absolutely no, turn inward for just a minute and see if there's something in there to learn. Or maybe you fall in the camp of, I don't know, but it makes me a better person when I believe that. So I don't remember that exact quote. Forgot to write it down. For today, my own answer is yes. I believe people are doing the best they can with the tools they have, with the life experience and the exposures that they've had. But I also want to acknowledge that I myself have reluctantly set boundaries from time to time that have allowed me to love people at a distance for my own safety and my well-being, because I'm way more vulnerable than God. And many of us know what it is to do that in some way, in relationships with family and friendships as they come and go. I could tell you several of these stories, but we don't have time. I don't want to keep you all day long. But I hope that you'll stay today for the workshop. And if you can't, then maybe ask somebody to take notes for you so they can share it with you later.
Good morning or evening, friends. Here's your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster, could change your joy and laughter to tears and pain. It's that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hate's going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. The force of evil plans to make you its possession, and it will, if we let it, destroy everybody. We all must take precautionary measures. If love and peace you treasure, then you'll hear me when I say, oh, that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hate's going round, breaking many, many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. People, you know that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. You know that hate's going around, breaking many hearts. You've got to stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Love's in need of love today. Oh, love. Just give the world love.
Come on. Have you been blessed today?